In some cases, you find yourself holding on to some gear which simply doesn't work on 220 volt alternating current. In some of these cases, there is this unit here. It's sold by various brands, Lianlong, Mercury, and so on. I recently bought one of them, and here's my experience.
From a visual point of view, this system isn't particularly complex. Here in the front we've got the American plug along with a switch and a fuse. Well, we've got a handle here on top for carrying it around. At the bottom we've got some feet, and at the back we've got the cable, which sadly has a UK plug, and this isn't exactly much use if you're based in Slovakia. But fortunately, you can always buy something like this. Using such an adapter isn't particularly difficult. In the first place, we cut open the bag, take it out, and then we look at the plugs. And we see it's Phillips screws all over. So we grab ourselves a Phillips screwdriver and start tearing the whole thing apart. And then we open it and we find, ooh, in here there are the actual plugs and there is a fuse. This fuse, in theory, you should transplant it to the other plug. But if you don't, if you are somewhat sensible, it's not a particularly big problem, at least if the EU inspector doesn't catch you. So, the next step, opening these three things in there. And as we see, they actually used shoes, so the quality of this cable is not at all bad. In the next step, the Slovakization adapter must be opened as well. There is one common mistake to be made here. You must slide this onto the wire before assembling it, because otherwise you won't be able to get the cover on and have to take everything apart once again. And of course you shouldn't forget this part, which belongs to the other connector, and I want to save the other connector, so I have to tear it down. And with that out of the way, it's time for the actual Slovakization. The most important part is that the ground terminal must go in the middle. So the ground terminal, which is this one here, must go in the middle. So when these are opened, you also open these. Slide this through and start linking up the individual wires. I'm gonna start up with ground, which is here. Don't let the EU catch you, but when pushing these through, putting a bit of pressure with a screwdriver to get a kink into the cable can be quite helpful. Then it's time to install the next one. It's this one over there. Just to go over there. If you have a problem, you see here it's blocking, this thing is blocking this, then you can also remove this one to make your work a little easier. Close this one over there, you see. Then we've got one more missing. Put this one in there. And we're done. What you should be careful of is a bad connection, such as this one. This shouldn't happen, and this must be repaired. And then, when it's all done, it's time to reinstall this protection clamp here and reassemble the whole plug. And finally the screw, which goes in the back here. You really shouldn't drop the screw, by the way. Some of my friends use a carpet on the work desk to make a screw which drops stick, but I just can't fathom working on a carpet. Plus it's the anti-static problems, of course. And with that, we've Slovakized our load.
In theory, everything should now work. But will it also work in practice? Before we get started, I wanted to ask you for one request. Please like and subscribe, because it takes your help to grow this channel, and only with your help we can do new content. Thank you.
While I don't normally believe in tearing down things for the fun of it, in this case it was necessary because I had a problem. And, well, taking this thing apart isn't particularly difficult. You've got 4 Phillips screws in there, and on top of it you've got the 4 little legs, like this. So, you just put those back in, and then you push the legs in, and you're done. From a general technical point of view, the unit looks pretty good. By the way, you see, when you're working on a line system, you should always make sure that the power plug is in sight. You've got the beefy transformer, the power switch, and the output plug. So, from a theoretical point of view, all works well. And if you measure the voltage here, you see that everything will work. But as you can see, with alligators connected to the back, the unit supplies 118 volts DC and thus should be more than perfectly suited to supplying most American pieces of test equipment. And sadly, this is the problem. As you can see here, the cable is not connected very well at all to the front, which is why this front plug doesn't get any power and why our AC, or rather DC load, isn't willing to work. It's time to go for our trusty Vater. Let's first check what happens here. And then let's check what happens here. Now this is a bit strange, because before we didn't get any voltage. Let's measure once again. And we see that this is the problem. Here we have a reliable connectivity, but here in the back it depends on the mood of the unit. So the way to fix the problem is, let's resolder this. With that done, I proudly present the working Kikuzui DC load.
To the $1,000 question, would I recommend it again? Well, I had trouble with my unit. It didn't take me long to fix it. So from my point of view, as long as your unit can handle a 50 Hz AC, I would buy it. But you need to keep one thing in mind. I'm a guy who's got a soldering gun and everything at home. Do you have this equipment?